Proverbs chapter 5. Avoid immoral women. I am reading Proverbs chapter 5 from the New Living Translation, which I find to be simplified in a way that I'm able to understand. My favorite version is New King James Version, although I also read the New American Standard. I also read the English Standard Version, I believe ESV. But when I started reading the book of Proverbs with the New Living Translation, I really loved it. I mean, there are things that just popped out at me, and that's the reason why I'm using this translation. So let's go. Verse 1. My son, pay attention to my wisdom. Listen carefully to my wise counsel. Then you will show discernment, and your lips will express what you've learned. For the lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But in the end, she is as bitter as poison, as dangerous as a double-edged sword. Her feet go down to death. Her steps lead straight to the grave, for she cares nothing about the path to life. She staggers down a crooked trail and doesn't realize it. So now, my sons, listen to me. Never stray from what I'm about to say. Stay away from her. Don't go near the door of her house. If you do, you will lose your honor, and you will lose to merciless people all you have achieved. Strangers will consume your wealth, and someone else will enjoy the fruit of your labor. In the end, you will groan in anguish when disease consumes your body. You will say, how I hated discipline. If only I had not ignored all the warnings. Or why didn't I listen to my teachers? Why didn't I pay attention to my instructors? I have come to the brink of utter ruin, and now I must face public disgrace. So let me interject there, friends, and say that we are living in a very immoral world right now. We are living in a world where evil is called good and good is called evil, where bitter is called sweet, where light is called darkness and where darkness is called light, where there's lots of talk of, hey, we need to tolerate each other, we need to, I forget what the word is, but it starts with a T. I don't think it's tolerate, but all the same, guys, we are living in such a time where criticizing someone is looked as like hate, and yet it is not hate. It is simply constructive criticism. Anyway, so back to the calling good evil and calling evil good. Immorality in this day and age is not really shunned. I mean, if you find a lady who is a virgin at 26, 27, the world looks at her like she's a freak. The world looks at her like she has, an ear on her forehead. Like, this is really strange. And it is stranger for a man who is 30 years old, unmarried, and still a virgin, because sex is being sold like never before. Immorality is the in thing. But what are we being told in the word? We are being told in Proverbs chapter 5 that the lips of an immoral woman are as sweet as honey. They are seductive. Look at all the pictures on Instagram. Look at how some ladies are dressed in a very skimpy manner, and those photos are all over the place. Heavily made up women, skimpily dressed, and it's not a big deal. We are living in a time when such things are really, they're not shunned, they're even celebrated. That's the life we're living in. But God's word does not change. God's principles and his values do not change. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever. And he's warning his men, his telling his men to stay away from the immoral woman, because nothing good comes out of it. Disease comes out of that. Death comes out of that. She will take up the fruit of your labor. The labor, the money that is supposed to be spent on your life, the money that is supposed to be spent on your family, she will end up taking it. She will steal your peace. You will face public disgrace even. So wisdom is staying away from the immoral woman. Wisdom is remaining faithful to your spouse. Wisdom is remaining pure until your wedding day, if you choose to get married. That is wisdom. Verse 15. Drink water from your own well. Share your love only with your wife. Why spill the water of your springs in the streets, having sex with just anyone? You should reserve it for yourselves. Never share it with strangers. Let your wife be a fountain of blessing for you. Rejoice in the wife of your youth. She is a loving deer, a graceful doe. Let her breasts satisfy you always. May you always be captivated by her love. Why be captivated, my son, by an immoral woman, or fondle the breasts of a promiscuous woman? Verse 21. For the Lord sees clearly what a man does, examining every path he takes. An evil man is held captive by his own sins. They are ropes that catch and hold him. He will die for lack of self-control. He will be lost because of his great foolishness. That has been Proverbs chapter 5, friends. See you in the next video.